Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Do Ministry Gaming, and today we're going to be talking about the Path of Exile Harvest League mechanic. So as you map, you're going to come across these sacred groves. Just enter one and you're going to be taken to another area here. Within this area, you're going to see a couple of patches. And in this case, they're the same color, but they can be different colors, denoting sort of different types of patches. And you'll see that in each of these patches, there's a number of different effects associated with each patch. So, for example, this top one here, you have reveals a random attack modifier crafting effect when harvest, reveals a life modifier crafting effect when harvest, uh, random speed modifier, allows you to change a map into other maps, and adds an implicit modifier to jewel types when harvested. So these descriptions are sort of generalizations of what you could potentially get. So this gives me an idea that if I went with this patch, you have to make a choice, by the way, between the two patches. You have to pick one, essentially. But if I went with this patch, I'm going to get 7 crafts that are sort of attack modifier focused, 11 crafts on the left here that are life modifier focused, 1 craft that's going to be speed modifier focused, 3 for the change map, and 1 for the implicit modifier for jewels. Now, exactly what craft, like I say, is undetermined right now until you actually select the patch and complete the mechanic. So I'm going to go to the bottom patch here. Now, when you select the patch, it's going to spawn a bunch of monsters here on top of the patch, which you have to kill in order to complete the mechanic and actually get the crafting device with the crafts on them. So once you've decided which patch you want to go with, you just click the button to engage the patch. I see here I've selected this bottom patch, and then I click it again to say begin harvesting life force. And then a bunch of monsters will spawn, which I'm going to have to kill here. So as you see, this is the encounter, and you need to kill these monsters in order to spawn the crafting station associated with those crafts. So let me just real quickly finish this guy here. There's one more here. All right, so I've killed all the monsters that have spawned, and now you'll notice there's this crafting station. So you just have to click the crafting station, and you'll see all the crafts that you actually got. Now, like I said before, what you were reading on the sort of the patch was generalizations of what you can get. So if I don't know if you recall, there was one that was associated with sockets, and then when I finally got it, these are the specific crafts that I'm actually getting. So I've got one here that's set an item to 4 sockets and one set an item to 5 sockets. These could be random. This very well could have been 3 and 6. And that's where you don't know what you're going to get ahead of actually killing all the monsters and spawning the crafting bench. So here's all the crafting recipes that I got from that. Here's an example. Reforge a normal or magic item as a rare item with random modifiers, including an attack modifier. And so that's basically what this means is I can take a normal item, I can make it a rare, and in doing so, just like an alchemy orb, and that's why there's an alchemy orb symbol here, it basically tells you that this craft is essentially an alchemy orb. However, it's slightly better than an alchemy orb because when I alchemy, it will also guarantee me an attack modifier on this craft. So that's what people mean when they say targeted crafting in this league. So you can imagine it's really quite strong. This next one here, for example, reforge a rare, so like a chaos item. So you can see the chaos symbol here. They try to make it easy for you to figure out what each of these crafts are. Reforge a rare item with, but instead of just a chaos on the item, you're also chaosing, and then you're guaranteeing an attack modifier. The next one's even better. It's a chaos item that gets you an attack modifier and also says attack modifiers are more common. So those are some of the crafts that came with it. Here at the bottom is an incredibly good one, actually, that I'm very excited that I got as well. And you can see that some of these can become extremely powerful. So this last one says remove a random cold modifier from an item and add a cold modifier. So basically an annulment orb plus an exalted orb, but it's not just an exalted orb, It's an exalted orb that gets you a targeted cold modifier on your item. So this one's gonna be really strong. Now I'm just gonna show you an example of using one of these crafts. I'm gonna put this. I just happen to have it in my inventory. This Colossus mallet, and I am going to select the craft, and I can now hit the craft button. So you'll notice two things here when I select the craft. The first is there's this bar up here. It's called I believe it's a life source, a resource. Basically, you have this bar worth of resource to craft as many of these in the crafting table as you want. So when I click the craft button, you'll notice that my pool of resources to craft actually went down. This craft had 7. I had 7 of these. Now it has 6, so I can do it 6 more times actually. And you can see this has now changed my normal item into a rare item and has added a percent physical damage as the sort of attack modifier. So now I can actually use this chaos one, even reforge a rare item into with random new modifiers and clear them. So same thing, craft. I lose some resource into crafting it. This has gone down, and now my weapon has a chaos orb applied to it with an attack modifier that includes an attack modifier. So that's the targeted crafting that makes Harvest quite powerful. Now these Alch and Chaos ones admittedly aren't actually the most powerful ones. Like I say, sort of these Exalt slams that are targeted are very strong. Sort of these Jewel ones are very strong. But I encourage you to look around as to what the possibilities are. There are many creative ways that you can make really good items. Now, one final thing on this table I want to mention here is that, you know, if there's a craft that you really like, but you don't actually have the item to craft it yet, or you don't want to use it yet, you can actually store the craft. You can actually store it for use for later in the game when you actually have a good item. So for example, this set an implicit modifier on Abyss Jewel or Timeless Jewel. I don't have a Timeless Jewel right now to use it on, but if I ever got a really good one, I want to use it, right? So I want to store this. So there's this button on the left side that actually allows you to store it into what's called the horticrafting station. And as you can see from my tooltip, it says there's 1 storage slot remaining. Your station will have a default 10 slots to store crafts. I've actually already got 9 stored in my station, so I only have 1 remaining. But I'm going to close this real quick, and I'll walk over here and show you the horticrafting station. It's right here in the middle of the map. As you can see, I'm 9 out of 10, so I've actually already stored 9 different crafts in my horticrafting station. Some of these are quite strong. Like I say, here's the one, Exalt with a target cold modifier. Augment a new item with a cold modifier is an Exalt that specifically gets you cold and eliminates all the other possibilities. You know, I did want 3 of those crafts that were on that bench, and I only have 9 out of 10. So I do want to clear out a couple of these. In this case, I don't really need this speed modifier, so I'm just going to destroy that crafting option. It'll ask me if I want to do this or not. I say yes, and now I'm down to 8 out of 10. And I'm going to do that with another one here. I'm actually going to take away this one, reforge a rare, keeping all suffixes. This one can be really good if you end up getting an item that has really good suffixes and really crappy prefixes, and you really want to keep those suffixes and improve the prefixes. That's where obviously this one would be good. But I also already have this one down here, which is the same thing, but with lucky modifier values. So that one's even better. So I'm just going to get rid of this one here. Now I've got 7 out of 10, and I'm going to come back down here to my patch, my actual crafting station. I'm going to open that. So I'm going to store these away now. So I'm going to take this first one. I really want to store that. You can see here on the button, 3 storage slots remaining. I'll click it. I drain the life force. So when you even store an item, you make sure you have the life force to do it. It will drain it on the spot. You pay up front. And then when you craft it later in the league, you don't actually need life force anymore because you've paid it up front. But you have to pay it now, not later. So the second one, I'm going to store this one. You can see 2 storage slots remaining. And the last one is this Annul and Exalt Cold that I'm going to store. So one last thing I want to talk about, I guess, is if you have something that you want to use on this bench and it's not in your inventory, you can just hit the toggle, this button down here. It toggles, it allows you to toggle through your inventory. So I could have grabbed something from my inventory and placed it into the crafting station to do the craft. And then if you click this button back, it toggles between your inventory and your stash is what I meant. Inventory and your stash so that you have access to all of your items when you craft. All right, so there's a couple more things I want to mention. The first is when you zone into a sacred grove, it's not explored completely right away. So make sure you go and explore the rest of the area so you don't leave any harvests hidden in the unexplored areas unused. The second is that when you zone into a sacred grove, there's a potential that you encounter a boss fight instead of the crafting options. I'm not going to talk too much about the boss fights. Since the latest patch 3.13 Ritual League and the overhaul of the Harvest League mechanic, there's some unknowns about whether the boss fight itself has changed or if the drop table has changed as well. So, and there's not much information about it right now as of the making of this video. So I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but if there's interest, I will put a video out later when there's more information about it on this boss encounter. All right, so that should be everything you need to know to at least get started on the Harvest League mechanic. There's a lot more to explore with this mechanic, and it can go very much in depth. So I've linked in the description below a website that I find very useful in terms of finding out when I enter Sacred Grove exactly what the crafting options, potential options are when I select my harvests so that I can target what I'm looking for. This league mechanic is extremely powerful, which is why I wanted to get this video out sooner rather than later, even when I didn't include the potential boss fight that you can encounter, just because I want this information in your hands as soon as possible so you can start utilizing it to either craft the ultimate endgame items, which this allows you to do, perfectly rolled endgame items, or even in League Start, you can make a healthy profit just by target crafting some specific modifiers on your items. For example, I've made 2 to 3 exalts in profit in the first 4 days of the league just by targeting chaos damage over time multiplier crafts on quivers, on hunter quivers, and selling them on the market for anywhere between 20 to 60C profit each. If you want to learn more about that, I did do a little explanation on that in one of my other videos. I believe it was the day 3 to 4 highlight video. If you don't want to watch all the highlights, just skip to the end and I do a small description on what I did with harvest crafting to achieve those profits. So make sure you check that out. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope the video was helpful. If you liked what you saw and my other content, please like and subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. I also stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Times are in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.